Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we have some feedback on Anne's speaking test. So let's dive in. So, good evening. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
Well, my full name is Anh, but you could just call me Anh for short.
Thank you, Anne. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, I'm from Vietnam, which is an Asian country.
Asian, didn't quite hear the zh. Maybe he just mispronounces the word Asia and he mispronounced it as Asia. But again, going to be listening for more of this zh sound. An Asian country with a zh. And which town are you from, or which city?
So I actually live in Quy Nhon City, which is
So the name of the city here is unfamiliar for me, and just a small bit of advice. If you don't live, if the name of your city sounds a little bit different or strange or foreign to, the Anglosphere world, Americans, British people, try to pronounce it a little bit more slowly, right? Like I'm from Wales, right? And there's a place in Wales, for example, called Machynlleth. Now, Machynlleth is in the Welsh language; it's not in the English language. Now, if a friend asked me, "Oh, where are you going?" I'd say, "I'm going to go to Machynlleth." But if a friend who was English, for example, asked me, "Where are you going?" I'd say, "Oh, I'm going to a place in the north of Wales. It's called Machynlleth." So I can pronounce it slowly because I know that the other person will have problems understanding. So keep that in mind, that when you say where you're from, your hometown might sound very familiar to you, but it can sound very unfamiliar. Like if you ask me now, what is Anne's hometown? I have no idea. He said it very quickly. I just didn't catch the name of the town.
Brett, which is a small coastal city located
I small? So a small or a small, fine, but I small just sounds a bit strange.
in the middle of Vietnam. The city is quite bustling, to be honest.
So the city is quite bustling, to be honest. I think it sounds like Anne has just learnt the word bustling and is trying to show off. I don't feel like it's naturally used here. It's quite bustling, to be honest. Why would you use "to be honest" here? Like, it's quite bustling, to be honest. I don't see the exact sense of using "it's quite bustling, to be honest." It sounds, artificial. And what do you like most about this city?
Well, the thing I like most about the city is its beautiful beach, and I
The thing I like most about the city is I really like this as a cleft sentence. Very nice.
usually go to the beach and enjoy the scenery by myself
So
every
it gets the usually, gets the joy, so that "j" and "j" sound seems to be okay.
every afternoon.
And is there anything that you don't like about the city?
Well, I don't think that I have any problem about the
A little bit mechanical, right? Well, I don't think I have. Well, I don't think I have. A little bit mechanical in the pronunciation.
city, but one thing is that
One thing is that a little bit mechanical.
there it lacks of most of transportation. They just
It lacks of most of transportation. First, it lacks most transportation without "of," but again, sometimes Anne's intonation is good so far, and sometimes it's mechanical.
like taxi. There's a limited like amount of bus stations. Yeah.
And limited number of bus station, but okay, small problem. What do people do for fun in your city?
Well, they would just go to the beach like me, and
I don't know why would here. They would just go to the beach. I don't know why would they just go to the beach. Even you can use will here. They will just go to the beach. I don't know about would. It's not a big deal. It just sounds a bit strange.
oh, and in the afternoon they usually go to the beach and play certain types of sports, like they could play badminton or football,
Really like the certain types of sports. Even though the pronunciation is mechanical, the language is very good and the development is good.
or they could just like lay on there and take a sun bath, or they
I don't know about take a sunbath. Go sunbathing, that's fine. Or sunbathe as a verb, but take a sunbath, we don't use that.
could build some sandcastles.
Could build So there's not quite build. So there's not the full phonological range. It doesn't come out as build, comes out as like build.
Let's
So
move on
that L before the D seems to be a little bit difficult for Anne.
now and talk about friends. Do you have a lot of friends?
Well, I have quite a lot of friends.
Yeah, like if I ask you, do you think that's a long enough answer? Do you have a lot of friends? I have quite a lot of friends. You know, you can extend this answer. Now, of course, if you answer one question in a short way like this, it isn't going to necessarily affect your final score. We look at your test as a body of evidence and we look for enough evidence, but repeated short answers would be a problem. One short answer is okay. You know, do you have a lot of friends? I have quite a lot of friends, actually. I think maybe when I was younger I had a few more, but you know, I still have enough. That's fine. That's that's more extended, but I have quite a lot of friends.
And what do you like doing with your friends?
Well, as a student,
So I notice he answers most of his questions with well. I think already now this is 4 or 5 times where he's answered a question with well. Well, now we all have our favourite pet bits of language, but again, try to have a bit of variety.
mostly enjoy playing video game with them.
Videos game? I think video games.
I also have a group of friends who
Gain that L. So it seems to be that when L comes before another consonant, like build, and also, I can't quite get it out. So it comes out as build and also. Build and also. So getting that L when it's before a consonant is clearly a problem for Anne. So already I can say that he doesn't have a full phonological range.
just like play these certain types of games. So I have the group of friends who play Minecraft, a group of friends who play variants, yeah, some sort of that.
And do you like chatting to these friends online?
Yes,
Small point. I know it's very basic. Please don't put your hand in front of your mouth when you're speaking because sometimes it can make it difficult. So whether you're taking the test online or in person, it's never a good idea to cover your mouth with your hand.
actually chat with them a lot online.
And do you still keep in touch with the people you went to school with?
Yes, I have a lot of
So your hand is still in front of your mouth here. It should be taken away.
friends who have the same interest as me in school, so I usually keep in touch with them occasionally.
I usually keep in touch with them occasionally. It sounds, I usually keep in touch with them, or I keep in touch with them occasionally. I keep in touch with them from time to time. But it sounds strange. I usually keep in touch with them occasionally.
Talk about photography now. How often do you take photos?
So I do not like taking photos that much, but I think that I often take pictures like 2 or
Always using take pictures instead of take photos. That shows some good, successful paraphrase.
3 times a week.
3 times a week sounds a bit specific. I don't know if anybody really counts how often they take photos 3 times a week. We're looking for, oh yeah, I'm the kind of person who always takes photos. Or, I don't really take photos that often, but if I see something I like, I take them. Or I never really take photos unless I go on holiday. We don't need specific, like 15 times per month or something like this.
And do you think you are good at taking photos?
Well, I don't think that I am a professional at
Another answer with well, but I still I don't think that I'm a professional. It's very natural language.
taking photo. I just mainly when
taking photo, but he misses the S. So it's really so many students can't get singular and plural right in English that we usually add S to nouns when we talk about them in the plural. I'm not good at taking photos, and we often use plural form when we talk about things in general. I like dogs, but I don't like cats. I'm good at taking photos. For example, I play video games. We often use that plural form when we're talking in general, but so many students, even high-level ones, make repeated mistakes with singular and plural. It's strange.
I came across a beautiful scenery, I just stopped there and just
Came across as nice. A beautiful scenery sounds a bit strange. Scenery is uncountable, so we don't use a beautiful scenery, but I came across some beautiful scenery.
Just using my phone to take a picture of it. And I just, do not put that much effort into editing and taking the photo.
And do you post any photos of yourself online?
No, I actually don't. And I just usually
Love the use of actually here, very nice.
keep them in my library.
I usually keep them in my library. I'm not sure what that means. It's not immediately clear. The original meaning of library, of course, meaning, a building or a room in your house with a lot of books. So when you say I usually keep them in my library, I don't know what you mean. Like the gallery on your phone or something like this, it's not immediately clear. Library is just a little bit suspicious as a word here.
Okay, thank you. Now, in this next part of the test,
all right, so a very quick recap of part 1. So firstly, Anne's vocab is good. Secondly, he extends his answers well. His grammar is generally accurate, although there are some misses, like most of something instead of most something. A couple of mistakes, like with singular and plurals. A little bit of repetition in the vocab where he answers too many questions with well. Pronunciation-wise, generally it's quite easy to understand him. I don't have to work too hard. There are some problems, like the mispronunciation of Asia makes me think maybe he has a problem with je, but then he pronounced words like enjoy and usually, which have like a j, and so it's okay, maybe that's fine. It's not a systematic mistake. Intonation is quite weak in some places, so the chunking of the words, grouping words together in a natural way and maintaining intonation is lacking. He tends to speak in more of a mechanical way, where he speaks like this, almost as if English is a stress-timed language, not a syllable-timed language, or a syllable-timed language, not a stress-timed language. English is, of course, a stress-timed language, not a syllable-timed language, but that's not important. The point is that some of his utterances, some of his sentences, some of his stretches of speech just sound a little bit mechanical. But okay, let's see how he does in part 2. I'm not expecting much difference now in pronunciation. I want to check grammatical range in part 2 because I haven't been paying much attention to grammatical range, so let's see how he does with that.
I'm going to give you a topic, and I would like you to speak about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes.
Just skip ahead
now. Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay, so not really much scope for grammatical range, maybe. It's always easier if you have a question to talk about something you did in the past. You can use past simple, past continuous, past perfect continuous, reported speech. You can show off some uses of adjectives and adverbs and things like this because you're telling a story, and there's a lot of specific grammar connected to storytelling. Unfortunately, he has this task like describe a person who has inspired you. So, probably there's going to be a lot of stuff with present simple, describing who the person is in general. But there's scope for present perfect continuous, and there could be past, present, or future time here. In the last question, explain how the person has inspired you. There is possible scope for some things that they did in the past, and maybe we get some past tenses here. So I don't know. I don't see a specific kind of grammar that I'm looking for that I would look for if it was telling a story about something in the past. But I am going to try to focus on grammatical range. So let's see what we have.
Okay, so the person that I would like to talk about is my mom. So she has been my biggest inspiration ever.
She's been my biggest inspiration ever. Nice.
So I have known my mother since birth. Yeah, that is obvious.
It is obvious, and I'm glad that he addressed it and said it's obvious. But, he still used present perfect with how long. I've known her since the day of my birth.
Yes. So my mom is a kind of person who is very hardworking and heartwarming. So
don't know how I feel about describing a person as heartwarming. Like an experience can be heartwarming, or a moment in a film can be heartwarming. I don't know what it means, though, to say that a person is heartwarming.
Usually help other people who are in need. For example, if she saw
People who are in need is fine, but there should be a bit of a pause. For example, so there's not everything is coming out like in a machine gun way. Again, there's no intonation. Like she looks after people who are in need. For example, if she sees someone on the street, we want to put pauses in the right place. So she's always looking out for people in need. For example, if she sees somebody on the street, she usually da 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 da. So that intonation isn't there. It just comes out like this, almost as if he is trying to memorize everything and he just wants to say it like this. So again, the intonation is mechanical, but I'm trying not to think about this. I'm trying to think about grammatical range.
if she see a person that
If she sees, not if she see.
is just laying down on the street, she will give them some money for them
So we get a first conditional. If she sees, da 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 da, she will da 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 da.
to buy some food or afford a for some accommodation.
Afford some accommodation. I give them some money to afford some accommodation.
Yeah, and she is, as I've mentioned before, she is also a hardworking person. So she always finishes her jobs as soon
She always finishes. Again, third person as present simple. It's very basic grammar.
as possible, and she just
As soon as possible. Again, missing that L. As soon as possible. It is a strange type of L. As soon as possible. But again, that L that comes in a consonant cluster with other consonants, he's missing it.
never tell her boss to do anything. And so I really want to become a heartwarming and kind person at her in the future. And
Not much grammatical range so far, right? We've had a first conditional, would like to do something, little infinitive, I want to do something, like an infinitive construction, some slips with present simple. But in terms of range, it's only been present simple, some very basic infinitive structures. Will we get anything more? Oh, we did get present perfect too.
I think that with her
So you're not judged on your body language, right? You are not judged on your body language in IELTS, but there is something in fluency and coherence that talks about a candidate's ability to speak at length comfortably. And sometimes if you can see discomfort in a person, that is usually coupled with a difficulty to continue speaking at length. It's just something that naturally happens to us as humans when we run out of ideas, but we must continue speaking. Our body language becomes more negative. So for me, it's a signal that he's having difficulty speaking at length.
as my biggest inspiration, I think that would be possible in the
Now he's repeating, she's my biggest inspiration, because he hasn't planned it perfectly. He's just repeating ideas he's already mentioned before. She's my biggest inspiration, and now he's repeating this idea. She's my biggest inspiration.
future if I just follow her path and some kind of that.
I love this follow her path. Very nice vocab.
And she is the kind of person that I would always listen to her advices. And yeah,
Advice is uncountable in English, but everybody makes that mistake. So I would listen to her advice, not her advices. Advice doesn't have a plural form in English.
her advices have been very useful
Again, we get some present perfect. So there is some range there, not like full range, not a huge range, but there is a range.
every time. So yeah, that is the person that has inspired me the most that I would like to talk about.
Okay, so again, he's just echoing language. So yeah, that is the person who inspires me the most, who I would like to talk about. This feels very similar to the first line of his speech, but he rounds it off, he finishes it in a natural way.
Okay,
I think.
thank you. And does your mum know that she is such a big inspiration for you?
I don't think she knows that she is a big inspiration for me, because I just do not talk about it to her.
Cool. So when you can engage Anne in like a natural, normal conversation, his intonation is a little bit better. When he's in test mode, his intonation becomes more robotic. So comments on part 2. I was looking for a range of vocabulary. I got like 3 or 4 uses of present perfect, a lot of uses of present simple. Some of that was controlled for accuracy, but a lot of mistakes with that third person s, like she finished, she enjoy, or something like this. would like and want to do something. So a range, but certainly not like a very wide range. So I think more or less I know for grammar, more or less for vocab. I think pronunciation, fluency. I think I have a fairly good idea now what I'm going to give him. But of course, we want to listen to part 3. Part 3, you do have the opportunity here to push and to, if in my head, for example, I think that he's a 6 in vocab, part 3 is an opportunity that he could just use nice little combos, nice little collocations with vocab, and it might just push it to a 7 or something like that. I think so far I'm leaning more towards 7 than 6 for vocabulary. But yeah, let's see how he does in part 3. Okay. So, you've been speaking about a person who's inspired you. Now I'd like to talk about role models. What kind of people make good role models? Anne doesn't know the word role model, and that's everyone's worst nightmare, right? You go to an IELTS test, the examiner asks you a question, you understand every word except the most important. What kind of people make good role models? Role models? But it's part 3. Part 3 is a discussion. You can ask the examiner. Sorry, role models. What do you mean?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that well.
So Anne is saying he couldn't hear that well. Now, I don't know if he just misheard or if he doesn't know the word role models. I think he doesn't know the word role models, but maybe he thinks, oh, maybe I misheard something. So I repeat. So I'm going to ask you about role models. What kind of people are good role models? So because he said he didn't hear, I thought I would make sure that he understands it, that I'll pronounce it in a clear way. Role models. What kind of people make good role models? But I don't think he knows the word role models.
Can you rephrase it?
So he says there's no reason to be... I understand, right? You think, oh, damn it, this question came up and I don't know. But relax. Part 3 is a discussion and you're just welcome. You don't need to freak out or worry. Just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean by role models. Could you ask the question in another way or could you rephrase the question? It's fine. You don't need to be afraid to do this. So a role model is somebody that we respect or somebody that we admire in society. But the question is what kind of people make good role models. So it might be, we're not looking for specific people. We're not looking for my mum or my brother or my sister. We're looking for, the kind of people. Is it public figures, politicians? Is it sports stars or movie stars or rock stars or actors and actresses? Maybe there are some people in the community, maybe professors at universities or head teachers at schools. Maybe nurses make good role models. Kinds of people.
Oh, okay. So, like in task 2, I mentioned, the role model that inspired me is my.
But the question isn't who is the role model that inspired you. The question is what kind of people make good role models, not who is a good role model for you. Remember, part 3 is impersonal, not about you personally in your life, but in general.
My mother. So she gave me a lot of advices, and they are always useful.
And do people in your country admire celebrities like sports stars or musicians?
So, to be honest with you, I do not know the exact answer for that, but I think many people admire some of the celebrities. Like, for example, there's a rapper in my country who is doing well, and he's do a lot of charity event.
Okay, now this is a good answer, right? So first answer wasn't coherent. The answer didn't really match with the question. But this answer does match. So there's a rapper in my country called and he does a lot of charity events. This is a good answer.
And he also helped like many people.
He also helps. So again, we have this systematic error with present simple. And in his brain, he might know the rule that in English, in present simple, when we talk about he or she, we add s. I play, you play, he plays. I do a lot of work, you do a lot of work, she does a lot of work. In his head, Anne might know this rule, but when Anne is speaking, we cannot rely on Anne to regularly use this rule accurately, repeatedly, because we have a lot of mistakes with these.
In it, and people just just respect him. Yeah.
And respect. So again, we have that problem where there's like two consonants together, respect. So we have the kts, kts. And for many people, particularly in East Asia, it can be difficult to hit those consonant clusters. Respect, the kt together, respect. It often comes out as just respect, either as no consonants like respect, or as one consonant, respect, or respect. But it's difficult to get the respect, kt, kt.
Do you think we get more inspiration from public figures or from people in our personal lives?
Well, I think that people that in personal
I think, again, doesn't get the th, so certainly not a full phonological range.
life have more impacts on compared to those celebrities, just because you actually know them better and you know how actually kind they are, and how hardworking they are. So yeah, you just basically know exactly what kind of person they are.
Now,
Yeah, not a very full or developed answer for me. Quite repetitive with ideas.
apart from people, what other things can inspire people?
So that's a difficult question, isn't it? What else can inspire people? But, you know, think of art, right? People love art, not just pictures, but also the theatre. They could be inspired by music or movies or things like this. Sometimes people are inspired by nature, like sunsets or rainbows. So you have to think outside the box. It's not easy always to produce ideas, but that's the purpose of part 3, to put you on the defense, to see if you can generate coherent answers under pressure to difficult questions.
Well,
and it's obvious that this question is tough for him.
this is quite an interesting question.
Again, he's telling me it's an interesting question, but with his hand over his mouth, and it... I know it's a natural thing to do. Please don't cover your mouth. Not just speaking to you, Anne, I'm speaking to everyone. Don't cover your mouth when you are speaking.
And so apart from people, I think that books also inspire
Good, I agree. Books, we've got an answer. Can we dig in a little bit deeper?
people. So from reading a book, you could like learn many lessons. So I've read many books, and many of those have taught me how to become more independent person, and how to more how to become a more successful person in the future, some sort of that.
And what kind?
So, a couple of points here. So I've noticed throughout the test that Anne very often has a physical negative reaction to questions, or a physical negative reaction when he breaks down. So, you know, he has some physical like twitch, like something like this, and that's okay, right? You will not be punished for that. But I will say, you know, it is, if you can control your body language a little bit better, it would be helpful. And you don't have to beat yourself up. Remember, you're not a bad person if you struggle with a question. Almost all IELTS takers will struggle with 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 questions. Just try to relax a little more. I think your answer here was fine. Now, the reason I've stepped in and asked is because I'm speaking about books, and I think books are an amazing inspiration for people. But there are different kinds of books. First of all, you have fiction books, and even in fiction, you have a bunch of different genres, right? So you could have like realism, or you could have fantasy or adventure. Sorry, just one moment. My battery is running low. I forgot to plug in my charger. So you could have many different genres inside fiction, but also there is non-fiction. And I'm not sure what Anne is talking about here. Is he talking about novels? Is he talking about books of poetry? Is he talking about science books or psychology books, self-help books? So I step in and try to, give him an opportunity to use some more vocab with this question. Kind of books bring people inspiration. So now it's an opportunity to use some really nice vocab connected to, I don't know, genres of books, types of literature.
So I don't think that I have the exact answer for this again.
Yeah, it's just missing a good answer there.
But if
And I think it is affecting the fluency and coherence score in part 3. It's just too many failed attempts, I think, to answer questions directly.
were to answer um the books that inspire people the most is those books who give you
Lots of reformulation there, breaking down, reformulating, false starts.
many life advices. Yeah.
And finally, why do some people not have motivation or inspiration?
Well,
that's a tricky question, but there are a number of reasons. But let's see how Anne answers.
I think that the reason for the lack of motivation,
I like the setup. The reason for the lack of motivation it's a very nice setup.
is mainly because they did
is mainly because they very nice.
not meet some person who then found who they found.
But then we get they did not meet some person. They did not meet. Why have we gone to the past and did not meet instead of did not meeting? So started it very, very well, and now the language is just breaking down.
To be motivating for them, inspiring for them. So
not inspirating, but inspiring.
And they, as like you said earlier, they would just haven't found any books that suit them to be.
Suit is great.
Inspirable for them.
So again, you see that physical nervous reaction to the question. And if that is a physical thing, of course, as an examiner, I wouldn't mark him down on that. I think it's just a physical nervous twitch. Everyone has some unique feature to how their body works. So not a big deal for me. Thank you. That is the end of the test. All right, so let's get into some marks then, shall we? Okay, so at different points I thought of different things, but I think fluency and coherence we have to give only a 6. So in many parts of the test, so in different parts, in part 1 and 2, I felt that your coherence was generally very good. However, this broke down in part 3 and your answers were either undeveloped or not exactly relevant to the question. You're like, oh, I don't know if I can answer what kind of books inspire people. Well, really? Lexical resource. I think there is enough for a 7 there. I can't list off the top of my head all of the good words, but again, in all three parts of the test, you demonstrated good lexical resource, including a number of topic-specific vocab items, all good stuff. You show some awareness of style or collocation. It doesn't suit them. I think that's a good, suit them is maybe that's not quite a collocation here. But they as you mentioned earlier, something like that, he said, the main reason why, that's a very nice set of words that go together. So there is some awareness of style and collocation, but definitely not sustained. So, it's not perfect, but you show some good bits of language that go together. Grammatical range and accuracy, I can only give a 6 for this. So, reasons why. So, again, in general, so you have a range of sentence types. So complex and basic sentences, but you don't need to worry about that. Normal speakers really don't need to worry about the kinds of sentences, like do they use simple sentences or complex sentences or compound sentences. You don't need to worry about that if you're a good high-level learner. You'll do that stuff automatically. Okay. You demonstrate a range of grammatical structures. Like you use present simple, past simple, you use the first conditional, you use would like to do something, want to do something. So there was a range of grammatical structures, but not an amazingly wide one. Most importantly, you have very basic mistakes with present simple and singular versus plural. I'm not talking about a lot of advices here, but I'm talking about like videos game, things like this. I take photo instead of I take photos. So those are very basic mistakes. And so for that reason, my ceiling for you is 6. Basically, while it's not always true, if I hear a candidate just making mistake after mistake after mistake with present simple, it's very unlikely that I will give them more than a 6. Pronunciation, again, is 6. And again, for that reason, firstly and most importantly, your speech is generally clear. And I don't have to work too hard. I don't have to work hard to understand you. All good stuff. However, your intonation is robotic in many places, without natural pauses, without like going up and going down. Also, you have some problems when 2 consonants are together. For example, the word build, or the word respect. So build, and respect, not easy for, I know, for many East Asian people to say, not easy to manage those consonant sounds, I know, but that's the score that I give. So overall, we get a score of 6.0. So overall, let's put it, I don't know. Overall, 6.0. I think Anne's natural language is better than 6.0. Key points to work on. Firstly, I would say really try to clear up your basic grammar errors. I think if you clear up those basic grammar errors, then I can start focusing on the type of range that you have. But it's just too noticeable, these constant repetitive mistakes with the basic grammar. So that's point number 1. I don't know if there's much that you can do with pronunciation. It's just a difficult thing. You can practice those things if you want. But intonation, I think you probably have natural intonation. You probably have good natural intonation when you're speaking normally, like from person to person, human to human. But in the test, your intonation is robotic. So you have to find a way to avoid your robotic intonation. Because speaking to you before the test and after the test, your intonation was much better. During the test, your intonation was more robotic. So you can do it. It's just, can you do it under pressure in the test environment? And one more thing I guess I should mention with fluency and coherence. Make sure that you extend your answers and that your answers deal with the question directly. If you're unsure of a question in part 3, be brave and ask the examiner to explain. The worst they can say is no. Part 3 should be a discussion, and in a discussion, an examiner should be allowed to explain things to you. So yeah, clear up basic grammar errors. Record yourself speaking, maybe with intonation. And yeah, that one question at the beginning, like, do you have a lot of friends? I have quite a lot of friends. You know, that's the place that you could extend. I know it can be difficult in part 3, but at least the ones that are easy, extend those. And for sure, don't be afraid. If you hear the word role model, just explain. Oh, sorry, can you explain exactly what you mean when you say role model? Just do that. Anyway, that's the end of Anne's test. I do apologize. I haven't made many videos this week and I haven't got in touch with many people this week. We are having some problems with YouTube in the country where I'm living at the moment, so I hope that doesn't get too bad. But that's it for now. For the moment, you are welcome to still contact me. I can't promise right now, I can't promise that I will give everyone who asks a test or a writing check, but do feel free to comment and subscribe and to get in touch and ask me. I will continue to do this, but as more and more requests come in, now I can't guarantee that every person will get what they want. But yeah, I still, of course, check the comments and check my email and check my Facebook. Details on how to contact me are below. But I'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much and bye-bye.